Good evening, everybody. I would like to talk about solve the quadratic equations using the zero product property. First of all, we need to understand some concepts, same like the solution of quadratic equation, what is the meaning of quadratic equations, and what's the meaning of the zero product property. So an equation of the form ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0 is called a quadratic equation, simply because the highest exponent for the variable x is 2. In this equation, we have three constants. We have the a, which is the coefficient of the x squared, and we have the constant b, which is the coefficient of the variable x, and we have the third term, which is the constant c. So a, b, and c are all real numbers, and for the quadratic equation, a shouldn't be equal to 0. Let's understand some of these quadratic equations. 2x squared plus 5x plus 3 equal to 0. Solving of this quadratic equation means that we need to find the values of the variable x, so that if we substitute these values, the equation becomes balanced and completely correct. So as you see here, we have the coefficient of the x squared, which is the a, constant a is equal to 2, while the value of b, which is the coefficient of the x, is equal to 5, while the third constant c is equal to 3. Here we have another quadratic equation, minus 2x squared minus x equal to 0. The value of the coefficient of x squared, which is a, is minus 2, while the value of b is equal to minus 1. And see here we don't have the third term, which contains the constant c, so the value of c is equal to 0. X squared minus 3x minus 1, the value of a is equal to 1, the value of b is equal to minus 3, and the value of c is equal to minus 1. 2x squared equal to 0. Here the value of the constant a is equal to 2, and see here we don't have both the second term and the third terms. So the value of b is equal to 0 and the value of c is equal to 0. Let's now understand what's the meaning of the zero product property. If we have two quantities, one is a and the other is b, if they are multiplied by each other and the result is 0, means a times b equal to 0, then either a equal to 0 or b equal to 0 or both are equal to 0. For example, what we have here, we have a quadratic equations simply because it is already factored. So if we try to multiply the two factors with each other, we will have a quadratic equation. So the first factor is x plus 1, and the second one is x minus 2, and the product is 0. So we have two quantities multiplied by each other, and the result is 0. So either the first factor is equal to 0, or the second factor is equal to 0, or both of them. If 3x minus 5 multiplied by 2x plus 1 is equal to 0, again here we have a quadratic equation, and we have the first factor, either it is equal to 0, or the second factor, either it is equal to 0 or both of them are equal to 0. A third example for the quadratic equation is the 3x multiplied by 4x minus 1. the first factor is the 3x, so either 3x equal to 0, or either the second factor, which is 4x minus 1, is equal to 0, or both of them are equal to 0. Let's understand how to solve a quadratic equation using the zero product property. First of all, solve x minus 1 multiplied by x plus 5 equal to 0. So what we have here, we have two quantities multiplied by each other, and the product is equal to 0. So either the first factor, which is the x plus 1, is equal to 0, or the second factor, which is the x plus 5, is equal to 0. So now we have two linear equations. So we solve for the first linear equation, which is the x plus 1 equal to 0. So we get that the value of x is equal to minus 1. Regarding the second linear equation, which is the x plus 5 equal to 0, if we solve for x, it is minus 5. So we have two solutions for the quadratic equations. One is the value of x is equal to minus 1, and the other solution is x equal to minus 5. Now we can simply check for these two solutions. Let's start with the first one. Let's substitute in the main quadratic equation with the value of x equal to minus 1. So x plus 1, so minus 1 plus 1, multiplied by x plus 5, minus 1 plus 5. So minus 1 plus 1 is equal to 0, and minus 1 plus 5 is now equal to 4. So the result is 0. So it's correct. Let's see the other solutions, which is x equal to minus 5. Let's substitute x equal minus 5 in the quadratic equation. So x plus 1, which is minus 5 plus 1, multiplied by x plus 5, multiplied by minus 5 plus 5. So the first factor is minus 4, and the second factor is 0. So the result is 0. So it's correct. Let's try another example here. Solve 2m plus 3 multiplied by m minus 1 equal to 0 using the zero product property. Again, we have two quantities, and the product of these two quantities is 0. So either the first factor is equal to 0, which is the 2m plus 3, or the second factor is equal to 0. So now we have two linear equations. We can simply solve for the first linear equation. So 2m plus 3 is equal to 0. This gives us that the result of m is minus 3 divided by 2. And for the second linear equation, which is m minus 1, we solve for m, so m equal to plus 1. Simply we can check for the two solutions or the two values of the m. Let's start with the first solution, which is minus 3 divided by 2. So 2m, so 2 multiplied by minus 3 divided by 2 plus 3 multiplied by m minus 1. So this is the m minus 1. If you see here, the 2 in the denominator cancel with this 2. So the remaining is minus 3 plus 3, so it's 0. So 0 multiplied by any value is equal to 0. So this solution is correct. Let's check for the second solution, which is m equal to 1. So 2m plus 3 So 2 multiplied by 1 plus 3 multiplied by m minus 1 multiplied by 1 minus 1. So the first factor is 5 and the second factor is 0. So the product is 0. So again, our check is completely correct. Let's solve for 2y multiplied by 3y plus 1 equal to 0 using the zero product property. Again, we have two factors. The first one is the 2y and the second one is 3y plus 1. So the product of these two quantities is equal to 0. So either the first factor, which is the 2y, is equal to 0, or the second factor, which is 3y plus 1, equal to 0. Now we have two linear equations. We can simply solve for y. So in the first equation, 2y is equal to 0, so y is equal to 0. And for the second equation, 3y plus 1 equal to 0, so y is equal to minus 1 over 3. So now we can simply check for these two solutions. Let's start with y equal to 0. So 2y means 2 multiplied by 0 multiplied by 3y plus 1. So 2 by 0 is 0 and the other value is 1, so the result is 0. So our solution is completely correct. Let's check for the second solutions by substituting y equal to minus 1 over 3. So 2y, this is the y, multiplied by 3y plus 1, 3 multiplied by y plus 1. So for the first factor, it is minus 2 over 3. And for the second factor, see that this value, 3 in the denominator, cancel with this 3. So the remaining is minus 1 plus 1, which is equal to 0. So any value multiplied by 0 will give us the 0. So our second solution is completely correct. That's all about the solving of the quadratic equation using the zero product property. Thanks a lot for your watching. Goodbye.